Have you ever used Autotune on your voice? So you're on tour now, and you're starting to head back out west to your hometown turf. What goes through your mind when you're preparing for a show for a hometown crowd?
Wow. I don't know. There's always a tendency to get a little nervous because your family, your friends, or people you know are in the audience. And also, if you started out in a particular city, like Toronto, I kind of started out here. You know, I was 17 when I first moved here, and I was in the music scene a little bit. So you always kind of have that in the back of your mind. But overall, you just try to have a good gig and not think about that too much. And it's a vibe thing. I'm learning so much more about performing. I feel so much stronger now as a performer than I did before. It's more enjoyable for me now. I don't know if it's being a mother or what it is, but now I just really relish my time on the stage. I really am up to the task a little bit more, and I really have fun, and I try to assess the crowd a little more and just have a good time, you know? I take it less seriously, I think.
Every time that I listen to folklore, what I always love best is the defiance in the lyrics when it comes to the pressure to conform. I always find that really, inspiring and nice, and I'm wondering how you're welcome. How do you maintain that balance as a musician? I mean, you are part of it's the music industry, right? So there is business involved. So how do you balance that?
It's a huge struggle, really. It consumes a lot of my brain energy. So I don't know. I just try to remember why I'm doing it. I try to go, okay. You always have to look at the pros and the cons of anything in life, and you go, okay. There's all these downfalls to this job, but then, wow, I get to connect with a bunch of people. Like, I look in the past and I think of all my favorite artists in history, and I think they went through the same pressures and the same struggles, and they dealt with that. But obviously, there was something that kept them going and something that kept them making, music, in the business of making music. So obviously, that need to connect and that need to inspire and that need to, because maybe someone like you'd never hear my CD if I hadn't been up to the challenge of dealing with the music business, music plus business. It's a real challenge, I think, in any art form to try to balance that with business. And then you wonder, oh, well, am I a real artist? Because there's a price tag attached to what I do. Some people believe that art should be, priceless and just kind of abstract in that way. But I think it's a little bit of both. That's what I like about music. It's sort of for the common person. There's no real pedigree required to listen to a tune on the radio. It's very simple. So that's what keeps me doing it. I like the opportunity to connect with the average person driving to work in their car. It's a big thing to give up, So yeah, it's an ongoing balancing act.
Mm-hmm. I guess everybody is different when it comes to how they do the balancing act. What would be the line for you, say, like, everybody draws a different line when it comes to business and how much they'll inject that into their music and stuff?
Yeah.
Like
where do I draw the line?
Yeah, because it seems like right now in the music industry, I mean, things are changing. It's not necessarily worse or better, but they're changing. So,
yeah.
What would your line be, do you think?
I don't know. I think, what I do? It's like, if I can't sleep at night, then I won't do it. Or if I can't look at myself in the mirror and be happy with what I see, or if I can't picture myself liking that decision 5 years down the road, then I won't do it. Just because it's not worth it. I'm already a sensitive person who needs to make themselves feel, crappier than they already feel on an average bad day. So I just really, I'm a bit of a stickler, you could say. You could ask my management or ask anyone. I'm very I don't know if you call it paranoid. I don't know. I think if you don't have your integrity, what do you really have in this world? At least from me. I grew up watching, my parents and my ancestors, all my family work really hard. And so I definitely have a level of humility and also appreciation for what I do and the opportunities that I come across. But you always have to keep that integrity, And I think that's kind of what I've learned from my family as well. That if you have pride in what you do, and if you, at the end of the day, can say you've worked hard for everything you have, and that you haven't hurt anyone along the way, and that you've always kept people as a whole in their best interest in mind as well as your own, and you're not making decisions from a selfish place, then I think it's great. Especially when you factor in image and things like this and the whole, it's a whole big thing. Also, on top of that, being a female musician, there's, millions more strange opportunities that come your way that you've got to really stay focused to kind of navigate your way through those things.
Opportunities / pitfalls, and you never know. And
oh, definitely, yeah.
You mentioned growing up and your family and stuff, but when it comes to your musical influences growing up, say like the 80s is a time that people are really refocusing on again, I guess. The 80s are back or something, but I'm wondering who you listened to growing up.
Hair bands. Girls in videos with little white shirts on. No. Well, 80s, let's see, I was born in 78, so yeah. 1990, I was 12, so I listened to the early 80s. I guess I listened to Billy Joel as a 4-year-old, and ABBA and Blondie.
Was that your parents playing
Led Zeppelin
at home?
Yeah, my dad had a really great record collection. So I also watched Solid Gold on TV. My older sister listened to a lot of the hair bands, a lot of the heavy metal, Poison and Whitesnake and things like that. I didn't really, I was really into hip hop, and so Ice-T, LL Cool J, Salt and Pepper. I remember Supersonic. There was another girl band. They had it was almost like an early Salt and Pepper style band. Digital Underground. I remember my brother and his friends, they had a birthday party and someone had the Digital Underground CD, Sex Packets. What are those? Very, very controversial.
When you're 12.
NWA, yes. Public Enemy, yes. It's like music was exciting back then because I think there was genuine sort of like people, mashing things up a little bit and turning heads and kind of in all the right ways in a way, because even to take a group like NWA, obviously, there's a lot of misogyny going on, but in addition to that, they're speaking of real things. They're speaking of their neighborhood. It's the first time there was some light shed on the issues of, the American ghetto, really, and just kind of those types of things. So it's kind of an exciting time, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hip hop was exciting then too.
I guess that was what you're listening to in the 80s and I guess into the 90s.
Leg warmers.
90s word association.
90s, yeah, we should.
90s.
90s. Wow. Well, Mariah Carey, 90s Vision of Love took me to, Boys to Men, High Five, Jackson 5, Revival, New Edition, Reunited. Loved them. Crisscross. I listened to a lot of Mary J. Blige. TLC just came out in the 90s. Ooh, on the TLC tip. Dressed up like them several times for Halloween.
With 2 other friends?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Or 3 people. But then, as the 90s progressed, I got into my brother's rock CDs. Radiohead, Pulp, The Verve, Smashing Pumpkins, a lot of Smashing Pumpkins, Oasis,
You're mentioning a lot of 90s bands, but you're not mentioning any grunge, which is interesting. Did grunge ever influence you in any way?
When grunge came out, it just went right over my head because I listened exclusively to hip hop and R&B for about 4 years as a young teeny boppa, and I listened to this station from Seattle because I live in Victoria, so we're a little south, right? So we get the American radio waves, and so we had Cube FM. Anyway, all hip hop and R&B, and I loved it. I just put my little radio in the middle of my room with the antenna, and I'd stick a wire hanger onto it so I could get the signal and listen to the countdown. It was great. So one day, Seattle based, they started playing Smells Like Teen Spirit all day, and it turned into a grunge station literally overnight, and I was pissed. I was like, what's this crap? But then after the dawn of grunge and all these things, after I started to appreciate it, and I started to appreciate Nirvana, the Unplugged sessions, everything like that. I'm a huge fan of Hole, one of my favorite bands. Yeah, great music, really inspired. Mm-hmm. Great movement, really. We haven't seen such real, authentic. What I liked about Nirvana is they're kind of feminist, you know? Like the ability to just kind of, they just go on stage with a dress and sing a rock song, and it was like nothing. And that, I think, is really symbolizes a lot. I think they really believed in feminine energy and masculine energy, and not being particular to whether you're a man or a woman, you know? And just a real balance there, I thought. And the artistry was really pure. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pretty formative to people our age, I think, grunge.
Yeah, I think so. Somewhat, yeah. Well, see, punk and stuff too, though, now kind of goes over my head sometimes too, because to me, I think, for me, hip hop is more, or at the time when hip hop was getting big, that to me is the voice of today's youth in a way. When it started, at its inception, more rebel music when it first started to me. So punk, I think, is past our era. I think punk is from before, and that was the voice of the youth before hip-hop came. So now with punk, I never really was on the punk bandwagon, so I don't really, unless someone can introduce me to a cool punk band, unless PJ Harvey's punk, because she's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of definitions of punk. I think it's funny. Some people are more punk than punk bands. But let me ask you about, yeah, and it's pretty funny when you think about bands like the Madden Brothers, like in Good Charlotte. Anyways, okay, let's go. Moving along. I have a question from someone else who's doing a story on Autotune, I guess, on like Pro Tools type stuff. And,
yeah.
You know, you have such a fantastic voice.
Thanks.
You're welcome again. Would you ever use, or have you ever used Autotune on your voice?
Yeah, I think I did once, because I don't know what happened. I don't remember exactly. But I have clipped together one lick with another lick before. Yeah, I've done that. The technology's there, so it's hard not to. We're pretty pure though in the studio. We're purists, and we do. I have several songs in my album that are one take or just like a couple takes pieced together. But I guess sometimes you're looking for a certain sound or whatever. But it's not auto-tune though. It's not tuning your voice so it's in tune. Literally, it's just maybe pasting two performances together, so that you have, like, say, I'm like. You know, the beauty in your dishonesty. Cut. Yeah. So sometimes the performance could be better than the next one or whatever. But auto-tune per se, I don't believe I've used that.
Well, you don't need it.
Well, yeah, I don't need it. Yeah. But I guess sometimes maybe when you're in the 11th hour in the studio or something, and you maybe can't hit a particular note or something, then you maybe like boost it up a tiny bit, I guess. But I'd have to double check with Field. I think the whole album's processed, and he just didn't tell me. We're like, yeah, you can sing.
You're actually a robot.
You're really good. My voice is actually really nasally, so it's kind of funny. There are a lot of like tools in the studio that have been around for years, like analog sort of compressors and things like that just make your voice sound warmer and richer, but they're the same things that Billie Holiday used, you know what I mean? But then there's all these new things that make people that really can't sing at all be able to carry a tune or whatever. But it's kind of obvious, really. You can, if you hear an album, you can hear when it's auto-tune. There's a little sort of waver in it. Like if you hear that Cher song that has the intentional auto-tune,
right.
It's like that, but it's like a lot less obvious.
Do you think that non-musicians, so say just the average kid who's hearing a song on the radio, who's never stepped foot in a studio, doesn't know, do you think they can tell?
I think the person needs to sit and play acoustic guitar and sing, and that's the only real way if you can tell if someone can really perform and sing. Can a kid, sorry, what's the question?
Well, you were saying that you think that people can tell when autotune is being used, but, you know, say even me, sometimes the only way I can tell is when I see someone's live performance, I'm like, whoa, that doesn't sound like the recording.
And I think there's certain styles of music where the processing is really obvious, like there's like this real crunchy sound, and then there's this vocal that's like, and it's just like surrounds your head, and it's, some people can really sing and they sound great anyway, but yeah, there's a level of morphine that goes on with certain, but I don't, you know what though, I think the majority of artists can really perform and can, like even Kylie Minogue, she can sing, she's a good singer. But then you've got like maybe once in a while some people come around that can't really, and we all kind of
Yeah.
we all
We
kind
know
of,
who you're talking
no, there's just once in a while. But it's interesting. You know, it's funny though, because my live show, this album, it's so fun because we don't have any extra smoke and mirrors. There's like nothing extra. There's like, we did a US tour with like no extra lights. We had a different sound system every day. We were just freestyling, and it was so fun. So it just gets you back to your creative kind of core, and that's how they did it back in the day. You know what I mean? You should be able to play a huge arena with no extra visuals or anything. That's how, you know, that's how Jimi Hendrix did it. So it's actually really empowering. It's really fun. Yeah.
That's a good point. I very much agree with you. I want to talk about, like, as a music lover, how important is a good set of headphones?
I'm pretty lo-fi when it comes to technology. I rely on other people that I know too much, actually, when it comes to technology. Actually, I'm really into my iPod. I do a vocal warm-up, and it's on my iPod, and I'm like always on it doing it. It makes it so convenient. And then your favorite song comes along, and have you heard the Keen song, Everybody's Changing?
No, but I've been
It's
meaning to
really
check
good
them
song.
out.
It's a really good song. It's in my head right now. But it's fun because if you have a favorite CD you just bought or whatever, you can like pop it in your iPod and take it on the road with you. It's kind of more convenient than I never thought I would be using that kind of technology, but I am. I'm not actually using it, I'm just benefiting from it. Other people program it for me.
You're lucky. That's
Yeah.
right. Do you
But
think
headphones, sorry.
Yeah, well, the white headphones on the iPod, do you think that's become like an accessory, kind of like it's a...
Oh, like a trend thing?
Mhm.
I would use different headphones. I literally only use those things because, like, my daughter's already chewed off the foam, and they're just little white things. I don't know where the foam went. She chews on them every chance she gets. But no, whatever. I would use any headphones with that. I'd rock some old school headphones with that. You gotta personalize. I think. But you know what? Remember how popular Walkmans were? And it was like you had to have the particular like Walkman, or maybe not. I think maybe sonically certain headphones are better than others. Perhaps, but it really doesn't make that much of a difference, quite honestly. Because when you're listening to your favorite tunes, unless you're into the chill out and listen to tunes thing, then any headphones will do, I think.
Okay, I think...
You all know who I'm talking about.